Hello. Good afternoon. Hello. Good afternoon. need to turn on my microphone. That's probably better now. And I'm going to fade out Spotify. And actually I'll just turn that off for now. Okay, good. So I think I'm streaming, and I've got some people showing up on the viewer thing on the stream manager. So that's good. And all right, so what I just was saying to the people here face-to-face is that hopefully you've seen the announcement where I am making it possible now for you to attend face-to-face either day if that's your desire, if that's what you want to do. Some of you are committed to online only, and that's fine. Everyone else that is available for face-to-face, there's a small enough number that you can all attend at the same time if you would like to. So I'm saying now that you can attend Wednesdays or Fridays or both if you would like. Some of you strongly wanted to attend both days when you can, so that is now allowed. You are welcome to do that. Also, I am going to be taking attendance, but not to punish absences so much as to recognize attendance, if that makes sense. I want to know who's here and keep track of who's in which place to some extent. So I'm going to be using the attendance thing in Canvas. I don't know if you can see that actually, but I just wanted to let you know that I am doing it now and I haven't been before. So I will just be recording that. So that includes both being in person right now and also being online right now. So if you are watching online, if you don't mind, just say hi in the chat so I know that you're here, and I will mark you present. Not that that's a big deal if you're not present right now, because you could do this asynchronously as well. And those of you that are asynchronous or committed to asynchronicity, I can't say words. I'm not wearing my mask that lets me talk. This is my muffled mask. Those of you who are committed to asynchronous participation, that's fine. But there's few enough of you that I'm not I will be able to check in on you every now and then and make sure you're still following along. But for everyone that's just online synchronous, if you don't mind just saying hi, that would be great. Okay, so Devin's having trouble with the stream. Sometimes refreshing helps. Okay, so let me see. Yeah, well, I'm going to mark it here in a moment in Canvas, but I want to. Okay, so I want to start off today streaming. Obviously, I'm streaming right now. My plan is to say a few things that everyone needs to know, including that bit about attendance, a couple other things too. And then I've got an activity for you to work on, and so I'll direct you in getting that started, and then I'll let you work on it for a bit, and then at the end of the class, I'll come back on camera and kind of talk about what you found out in your investigations. The idea is to learn more about digital projects, like the kind of thing that you might be making for your big project. And so I've got a list of these for you to look at and think about and do some work on. So that's what we'll do, spend about 15 minutes on that, and then talk about that. Okay, so I have some slides actually, just to kind of underscore a few things and make sure everyone's cool with things. Okay, so a few more ideas about the big project. I introduced the big project on Monday. I imagine you have questions about it. Please ask them if you do, but I am also I have a lot to tell you. So let me try to tell you something first before you get too far into it. One of these is that this is not a group project. I think there might have been some confusion because I introduced the squads at the same time as the big project, but that was just a coincidence. Those are two separate concepts. There are ways in which the squad could be a helpful construct as you prepare your project, but this is not a group project by design. If you really want to work with your squad, you turn out to be best friends and you just decide that you have to work together for this, that could be great, I don't know, but that's not my expectation with these. I assign them randomly because it's meant to be something else besides a group project, a project for a group. But again, if you want to make it work, I'm not going to stop you, but you need to convince me that that's a good idea, basically, because that's not the default assumption for this project. Okay, so instead, the squad is there for support, discussion, small group discussion kind of things, and peer review. It's meant to replicate the kind of thing that would happen in a classroom when I might say, a face-to-face classroom where I might say, find a group of 3 people and have a conversation about this chapter or whatever we're doing. It's meant to be something like that, so it's not a formal kind of thing. It's a place where you have some identity, though, and so for those of you especially that are online only, I know that it can be hard to feel like you're connected to a class, so this is a small group to connect with. So a group of people that you can feel like are your squad, and you can check in with them periodically. So specifically, there will be discussions, but also peer review eventually. So as you start working on your project, this is the group that you'll share your progress with so that they'll see it in different stages and can give you feedback on it as you start developing it. So that's the only real relationship to the big project that the squad has. Does that make sense to everybody? You good? Okay. So I'm seeing nodding in person. Online people, does that make sense? You can just, so I'll just type it here. If you're online, you can just emoji react to that or just type whatever your questions are. So cool. Okay. Great. Thanks. Yeah, I don't mean it to be confusing. It's just like these two things happened at the same time. So I wish I had thought of the squad idea earlier, so it could have just been there all along. But it's just I didn't think of it until recently, so that's why I did it now. Okay, great. So let's see. I don't know if Devin's improving. If her Devin, you can. I don't know if you're having connection problems. Maybe you can't hear me say this, but let me type this if I can. You can also lower the resolution on your stream sometimes, and that might improve it. Usually what I'm saying is more important than what you're seeing. So if you lower the resolution, you'll be able to see, still see it kind of, but you'll still hopefully be able to hear me. But my keyboard is glitching out, so I can't actually type that. This keyboard. Okay, so so that's not at all what I wanted to do with the screen here. But that's okay, I can work with it. All right, so another question, a kind of question that some people have already sent me is some questions about what is okay for this project, what kinds of things you can do for it. And I will just say this, that it needs to be significantly digital in some way. And if you remember, I conveyed it in terms of 3 different components. The idea itself is a project, the idea itself is a problem or a question, and then there is some kind of artifact or thing you're making, and you're using a specific tool or method to do that. And you can think about your project starting from any one of those 3 points. But as long as one of those 3 is digital, then to me it's a digital project. And so that, there could be semantic slippage between like what is a digital tool versus like an analog tool. It doesn't really matter that much. I think you'll know if it's a digital project. I think I will recognize and agree with you if that's the case. But if you're at all concerned about it, feel free to run something by me. But at least if at least one of those is a digital thing, then you're doing great. Now, in terms of those, I'll keep saying some more about this probably Friday, but in terms of finding a good problem, finding a good tool, finding a good artifact, think of problems that you actually care about or that you actually have an opinion about or you feel strongly about, and that'll make your project go much more easily because you'll be motivated to work on it by that belief or that thing that you recognize as a problem that you want to solve. That's something that you kind of just have to pay attention to what gets you excited or angry or whatever, and that can generate an idea for you. In terms of the methodology, I want to push you to try something you haven't done before. So if it is something that requires a specific tool, learning that tool, think if you can find a tool that you haven't worked with before, this could be an excuse to learn a new tool, and that's kind of what I would recommend. So finding a tool that's a challenge to learn, that's another way to make a project really valuable for you. And then as far as the artifact, think of something that will actually connect with an audience, that will actually help address the question or solve the problem that you are interested in solving. And that's kind of the hardest part, but if you start with the other 2 on a good position, then you'll probably be fine. At least it's good enough. Okay, so let me actually stay here for a minute. Any of you in person or online right now, do you have any questions about the big project or any ideas that you're considering that you'd want some feedback on, that you want to float for us to think about? Okay. That's fine. I mean, we're still generating ideas, we're brainstorming. Remember the big project idea generator? That's a tool that's meant to generate mostly bad ideas. So if you see something on there, don't assume that that's okay to do that just because the tool gave you that idea, because that tool is meant to show you how you have to have a good alignment between an idea and a method and an artifact. Like those things have to make sense together. And that's part of your work in coming up with a good project is figuring out the best way to do something. And a lot of times that generator is going to come up with bad ways to do things. So don't take it as a true thing necessarily. Okay, so here's what I'd like for us to do. Let me explain it a little bit, and then I'll say go, and you can get started. This is the instructions. There's a spreadsheet, and I will share the link in Discord momentarily. I did a while ago, but don't scroll back. Just wait for me to explain it first, if you don't mind. This is a spreadsheet with lots of links to digital projects. And these really vary in terms of their scope, their style, their purpose. And I did that on purpose to give you a wide range of things to look at for possible inspiration. So that's part of what we're doing today is getting a sense of what is possible with a digital project, and also kind of what I mean by a digital project. So for each of these, the first section has already started on theirs. The idea is that you find your squad in column A, and for each squad, I've come up with 3 or 4 projects. These are all randomly assigned to squads. I had a big list that I sorted. And the idea is, within your squad, choose one project each and learn a bit about it. So I want you to see if you can learn who made it. It could be a person, or it could be a group, or an organization of some sort. Figure out what kind of problem they're trying to solve or question they're trying to ask. Decide what kind of thing it is that they've made, what kind of thing this project is. And then if you can, figure out what tool or method they used to create it. Some of these things you might be able to figure out very easily just by looking at an about page. Some of these you might have to spend some time thinking about or even researching to figure out the best answer for these. Okay? And then if you get done, you can see each group I've also given you a line or two. So if you get all of your projects listed, figured out, and you have some time, then see if you can add some more. And this could be, like, you might find other projects by the same group that made one of your projects, or you might have heard of something that you think is cool that sounds like the right kind of thing for this list. Just as an example, this came up in the chat in the last period. This website, Whose Land, so it's whos.land, and it lets you look up indigenous territories. So you can learn, for example, that right now we are in Powhatan and Monacan territory in Fredericksburg. So I guess it's mostly, where are we? We're here. So we're overlapping between Powhatan and Monacan. So this came up because someone pointed out that on this project, Afro-Virginia, they have an indigenous statement. This is this is based in Charlottesville, so they had this indigenous acknowledgement that Charlottesville is on the ancestral home of the Monacan Nation. So it is appropriated land. And you'll see that on a few projects, but it's pretty cool. I've seen that more often in Canadian contexts, like people at Canadian research centers, whatever, Canadian universities often have something like this, an indigenous acknowledgement in their email signatures. And you don't see it as much for Virginia, so I think that's pretty cool. And also this website, whos.land, helps you learn more about that. So I think this wasn't on my list originally, but this is a great example of the kind of thing that I think of as a digital project, because there's information here, but you really need the digital platform of this map to convey the information. It's also an app, I think, that you can download. So pretty cool idea, right? And then there's a lot of people behind it, lots of people that have been part of making it work. So, all right, cool. So does the basic activity make sense? Sound good? Okay, so let me share the link, and you can get started. Are any of you in the same cohort, by the way, or the same squad, besides the Jessicas? Right, I don't think so. Okay, that's fine. The Jessicas. All right, so here's the spreadsheet. So yeah, so get started on that. Take about 15 minutes or so, and I'll kind of keep an eye on it. Once it looks like it's pretty filled up, then I'll come back on camera and talk about what you found. And in the meantime, I'm going to take roll for whoever's online and kind of walk around and see how people are doing in person. Cool, so go ahead and get started. And I will switch. I'm going to switch my stream over so I can put the music back on while you're working, if that's all right. Good. All right, cool. So yeah, work for a few minutes, and then I'll come back and kind of see what everyone's come up with. my microphone back on and talk to the camera a bit. So, oh, wrong one. There we go, that works. All right, so hello, I'm back. Let me turn down the music though. I don't need that anymore. So I'll go ahead and kill that tab. So what I wanted to do is work through and look at some of the things that people have added in here, and yeah, maybe comment on a few of them or talk about them or see what I can say to add some context in some cases. But I think, by virtue of being on this list, these are all examples of the kinds of things you certainly could do. So some of them might be harder than others, but don't think of it that way. Like, think of the point of it and the platform that's being used, and think if there's anything like that, that might be what you might do. So, okay, so I don't know if you're watching Amber, you may have come on late, but the idea for the responsible party is figure out who made this project, Stealing Your Feelings, which I don't think that was you. So who was this person? I don't remember who made this actually, but it is in here somewhere. But this is actually a really interesting project. And I probably need to activate my camera to make it work, but it uses facial recognition, and then it takes pictures of you while it's showing you this video, and then it plays back. Then your face starts showing up in the video in different points. It's really creepy and funny, and so I recommend it. But it's, the idea then, if Amber, you're watching, the idea is that you hopefully are looking at this and learning about it. Then once you figure out who made it, who I forget right now, add that. That's who goes in the responsible party column, and then fill in the other areas in terms of what they've done. Also, Amber, I need to make sure I didn't see you online earlier, so make sure I record you present for today online. So cool, okay. So let's see what you got. So Sonic Adventure in the Anthropocene. Interesting. Okay, who? I don't know who looked at this one. Let's see. I don't even know what this one is. I don't remember this. Let me see. This list of things that I have here was curated by, I started it, but it was crowdsourced. So I asked people to give me things, and some of them I never heard of before, and I still don't quite know what to make of it. So let's see. Jacob Smith seems to be the person here looking at the urgency of our critical ecological moments. Okay, great. Type of artifact. I would say this is a website, it looks like. So it's a work of experimental audio-based scholarship, but I think it's ultimately a website. But you could say audio would be the key platform too, or the type of artifact. So I'm just going to fill this one in for you. So it's audio, and then a website. Tool or method. You could probably, these can be lists with more than one thing in them, by the way. This is something called Fulcrum, whatever that is. But also audio recordings, editing software. So that might be Audacity or something, I don't know. And that's where, if it's not disclosed on the website, you would either have to guess or maybe ask the creator. But really, the point of adding something here in this column for us is that, if you wanted to do this, I would say you should probably learn how to use Audacity, because that's a great tool for editing all kinds of audio. There are other tools that are better for music editing specifically, but for generic audio that has different sources, then Audacity is kind of the default, really the industry standard. And it's free. It's kind of awkward to work with sometimes, but it's fun. Okay, good. So, so AlexaGate. And I don't know who added this one, but AlexaGate is a project by this Mischief group, and it is literally a thing that you put on top of your Alexa. And let's see. Nice, okay. So it actually literally sits on top, and it looks like it actually feeds white noise to Alexa so she can't hear you talking, which is, well, I don't know. Maybe you can activate it, or maybe it listens for the wake word and then translates that through. Maybe, I don't know. Let's find out. Alexa Gate prevents your Echo from hearing you. Clap 3 times or tap the Alexa Gate 3 times and it toggles off so that you can talk to your Echo like normal. Okay, so it's basically just an on-off switch for, for the listening of it, with clapping as the on-off thing. So that's pretty cool. And it jams the microphone. Actually, it physically jams it, so that's pretty cool. Like well, ultrasonically jams it. That makes sense, you know. These Alexas, they're always listening, or they could be, right? And they don't exactly disclose what they do with that information if they are listening all the time, so we kind of have to assume they are. Yep, Alexas. One great advantage I've discovered of Alexas is the announcement system. We use that as like an in-house intercom because our house is big enough that it gets tiresome to yell across the house, or just, you know, any house. It gets tiring. It's annoying to have to yell. So you get Alexa to say something. All of my kids have access to it, and then I get the push notifications on my phone whenever they use it. So the other day I got a series of push notifications from Alexa that just said fart, 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 fart. So that's what was going on at home. My son was trying to get Alexa to make fart noises. So important notifications. Okay, cool. So let's see. Querying the map. Jillian, is this the one you looked at? Cool. So let's take a look at it here on the big screen. Yeah. Okay.
Actually, that was not one. I had a different one.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. Okay, good. So, well, let's look at this one then. This one, just to kind of look at this one because it's up. Querying the map is it is an organization, I think. I don't know that it's identified people behind it necessarily. Lack of space. I don't know if that means space like digital space, but this is a thing that creates a space for specifically LGBT memories to be shared, and it is pretty interesting. Like the idea of it. So the idea is like it's people's record of what they've recognized as a queer experience. And so like when you click on the map, you see just people's memories or just someone saying blah, blah. And it's kind of like the people of New York thing because it's just sort of just people telling stories ultimately, a specific kind of story, but attaching a story to a place even without a name can really make it seem much more intimate and real. And I think it's a really interesting kind of storytelling. I mean, adding place to story does so much for it, even if it's anonymous. And it's interesting. And this is actually a global kind of thing. So it's focused on New York there, but if you zoom out, you can actually find all kinds of things, right? So, yeah, pretty interesting site, and also just a really interesting document. You can also add your own. I think, if I remember correctly, you can just click something. You don't have to sign in or whatever, or identify yourself. You can just add a story. So you can find. I think some people are kind of trolling with certain things, but like especially the ones way out in the ocean. But okay, but there's interesting things. Or maybe this person missed Mississippi and they meant to click on Mississippi. Yeah, it's a fascinating project. But again, I think a map is a really cool way to tell a story. And that's one of them. So in terms of the type of artifacts, I would say map, right? The other technology, this is using Google Maps. And then there's something that they've added, some kind of layer between Google Maps and the presentation that you see here. So when you add it, that's going into some kind of database, and there might be some kind of vetting that they're doing on the other end of that. It's not clear, but there is something else here besides just Google Maps, obviously, to make it into a website. I just don't know. It's not clear from what you see here what that other thing is. Okay, cool. So which one did you look at, Jillian? Oh, wait. I was clicking on the wrong screen. All right. Oh, this one, Everyday Queer New York? Yeah. Okay, so tell us about this one.
So the map wasn't really working. It looked like that on mine as well. But basically, I think what the overview is supposed to be is there's places in New York where certain parties of the LGBTQ community can go beyond like bars and bookstores to like hang out and stuff. So there's like different events, there's like socialization, political places, businesses that really are just supporting like this demographic.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, interesting. I mean, an interesting project, but I'm looking at the debugging code to see what's going on with it, and it is interesting what's going on there too.
Yeah, there's a lot more dots on it than mine does.
Oh yeah, maybe I'm zoomed out more, or maybe it just loaded faster. Because I mean, this is a wired internet connection. Maybe it just got here faster. But yeah, I'm noting that it's the server that is supposed to be loading what I think is the underlying map imagery is just replying with a 410 status code, which is unusual. Like the status code numbers, like you probably know 404 means file not found, 500 means internal server error, 200 means everything's okay. 410 gone is kind of unusual. I don't know if I usually see that one, but it seems to be saying that it didn't work. Like it failed to load this from the website that they're getting it from, which is mapbox.com. So it should be there, but then maybe their subscription lapsed, or they put the wrong password in or something. Who knows? But this is meant to be that. But yeah, you can. So this is almost like a richer version of the other one we were just looking at, the querying the map, where you have different kinds of things. These are things that you can kind of click on and off if you want to see kind of where they are and where they're clustered. And then I guess you can you click on a dot and learn more about it?
There's
Oh yeah.
I was able to click on and get it, but not all of them seem to be working right.
Yeah, they don't have a ton of information about them either, but they could. I mean, this is the kind of thing you can do with a map. You can add like a pop-up that has the information that you can click on and see a picture of it maybe. So yeah, again, this doesn't have to be super technical, but there is a technical part of this in terms of connecting this map layer, which didn't work in this case, but that's okay. All right, cool. So any more that you have found and added on your own yet? Not seeing any. That's okay. All right, so I think sometimes the type of artifact and tool or methods can be a little bit interesting. So let's see. Image.till, yeah. So this was Jessica, right? So what did you learn about the Image.till project?
It's a project that's based on, I think it was from like the 1950s. This 14-year-old named Emmett Till was murdered, and his murderers basically got off scot-free.
Mm-hmm.
So the website collects like writings and podcasts and archives
Mm-hmm.
many different people and puts them all into this one website to kind of advocate for the Black Lives Matter movement as it is today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's connecting that between, like the murder of Emmett Till was one of the figures that kind of kicked one of the high-profile events that kicked off a lot of the protests in the civil rights movement in the 1950s and 60s. So it was kind of a pivotal event then, and it still continues to resonate as black people continue to be murdered. So it's something that unfortunately has a connection to contemporary protests. So tell me, so you mentioned some things here. I thought it's interesting that they use this term digital platform here. What do you think they can do as a digital platform that they couldn't do otherwise?
You just have that collection of writings all in that one place.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, if you think about putting it into a book, that's going to be a really big book. You're going to have to
Yeah.
flip through it and everything.
Right.
But with a website, it's just ongoing. You can
Mm.
constantly keep adding to it.
Yeah.
Doing other ones.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like it continues to expand as you find new people to tell stories or new things happen. You can just add to it. Yeah, that's a great point. And also, like it's easy to point to, I guess. Like if you want to tell somebody about Emmett Till, like instead of saying read this book, you could just say check out all this stuff at the emmettillproject.com to learn more, and they can browse the kinds of things they're interested in. Like if they like listening to podcasts, here's a podcast. If you want to read some things, here's some things to read. And yeah, it's a good way to put it all together. So this is a kind of website, again, that students have done things like this for their big projects, not this topic specifically, but a specific topic that they wanted to explore and create a platform for. And that's a way to be doing something that's totally digital and it can really benefit from that. So cool. Let's see. Beyond Dido, what is this one?
That's the other one, I think.
Oh yeah, tell me. I don't know this one.
It's this campaign that basically gives you a map of all the states and shows you which ones still discriminate against
Oh, okay.
LGBTQ individuals,
Cool.
like legally.
Yeah, interesting. And also a different kind of map visualization than I normally see, but I like that. Oh, it's beyond I do. I thought it was like Dido, like the name, but then like, okay, that makes sense. All right. Good. Yeah. So again, the maps are interesting, but also like the way that you can click on and learn more about it is cool.
And like the story that
Oh, nice. So you can actually listen to it or read it. Yeah.
still has those laws in place.
Yeah. So it's kind of like similar to the Emmett Till project and putting things together, but also similar to the map of New York that Jillian found in terms of having space be part of that. And in this case, it lets you kind of zoom straight into your specific context to see, like that's what you do when you see a map like this. You want to see what's going on in Virginia, or whatever state you're from if you're not from Virginia, or Tennessee is where I'm from. And so it's like, I'm kind of curious what is going on in Tennessee. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, thanks for sharing.
If you scroll all the way down, so like if you click on a state and scroll all the way down to the bottom, it shows the specific like laws that are in that state that are discriminatory.
Oh, okay, so like click on Virginia.
And then scroll like past the story.
Actually, there's a link to see laws.
And then see like more.
Yeah, oh, cool. Oh, and it takes you to a different website. It looks like lgbtmap.org. Nice. I mean, not nice, the information's ugly, but it's good that this information is being, the way it's presented is informative and helpful. Good to know. Yeah, the only one, yeah. So I knew about, the only ones I knew about were the fact that LGBT is not considered a protected class in terms of discrimination. So basically any law that protects protected classes would be harmful to LGBTQ individuals in the sense of excluding them from that category. So like it could be a lot more than 5 even. But these are especially harmful, actively harmful as opposed to passively. Yeah, troubling, but good to know that it's out there. I mean, good that information's out there. Cool, so let's see. Did you all add any more that I haven't seen yet? I don't see any more. Okay, so cool. Yeah, so there's still quite a few that haven't been covered yet. So actually Group 8 or Squad 8 isn't present at all today. So or 9. So those, if you all are, I am now speaking to the camera and addressing those of you who are not here right now. If you're watching this later, you can still do this. So and please do this because what we want here is a wide range of information about these different projects because we want to be able to look at these and get ideas. So you learned about one in particular today, but that might not have been the kind of thing you want to do. But you might see something on here that is the kind of thing you want to do, and you'll be able to see that more clearly if someone puts that information in there. So please do that, and try to be as consistent as you can with the language on the type of artifact and the tool or method. Sometimes those two things can sort of be the same thing or feel like they're the same thing. We can talk about how to separate them in some cases, but it's not super important as long as we're getting information out there. Just to kind of parse it a little bit, like this one, the type of artifact for this one, this was a little tricky. It's a thing called Future Coast, and the idea was it was an interactive kind of storytelling game, basically. They used a website to host it, right? But the actual thing that was being hosted was this interactive project. So the idea was that you could, if I remember correctly, you could leave voice messages on it as though you were a person in the future who has experienced the effects of climate change directly. Actually, you could put yourself at any point in time. So you could put yourself in the past or the present or the future, and you're basically recording like a diary entry about what's going on in your life specifically because of how the climate has changed or is changing. So pretty interesting project, but the actual like technology of it was just a website, but the content of it was that website designed to do that thing. So that's a bit of a difference there, but hopefully that makes sense. All right, so any final questions or thoughts? I guess we're out of time, so we should wrap it up. Any questions about the project or about your specific project? Looks like I got something. Oh gosh, okay. So I just see Lillian in here. Not necessarily. So, not necessarily. If you add some info about spent, that's the main thing we need. Yeah, and so I'm glad Lillian mentioned this on Discord there. The Play Spent, or Spent is the game, it's a website, if you wanted to do something like this, I don't know what technology they made to make this, but you could certainly do something like this using Twine. And students have done things like this using Twine. So a student last year did a roommate simulator, like what it's like to get a roommate you don't like, and kind of the decisions and the things you have to go through to live with that person. Pretty interesting story, actually. Also, someone did a simulator where you get sucked into a pyramid scheme, and so like it sort of plays out the consequences of that. Pretty clever stuff. This is one where the challenge is to try to make it through a month while living in poverty. So it's very. I mean, this is something I usually give like a content warning for before in terms of a class, because it can be very stressful to play actually, and I don't know. I mean, it's something that's good to know, and it's informational. It's also using like code. Like this is something that's coded to create a simulation that allows you to experience a specific point of view and struggle with decisions that have consequences. And I think it's really effective at making you think hard about it. So check it out if you're interested at placespence.org. And a good example of the kind of thing that you can do that's very much a digital project, very much closely involved with and requiring digital technology to make it work. So yeah, thank you for adding some notes about that, Lillian. All right, cool. So the main thing, if you didn't do it yet today, is please do add like and I'm mainly addressing the camera, make sure you add some thoughts about one of the projects that is assigned to your group so we get a range of stuff to learn about. Okay, so on Friday we're going to do some more stuff, nuts and bolts with the proposal, because that's the big thing that's coming up. That's the first big part of the project. So definitely make sure you look through that assignment before Friday, because it's pretty long and complex. And that length and complexity is meant to be helpful, but it is a lot. So try to look at that on your own first. So when you read through it and you have questions, you can bring those questions on Friday, whether you're coming in person or participating online. All right, cool. So I'm going to wrap up the stream. Thanks for watching and being here if you were here. And again, remember, if you are a face-to-face person, you can come both days from now on. So that's it for today. Bye.